Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev were sitting just feet apart from each other at Dana White's Contender Series last night, and the tension was absolutely electric. What's up, fight fans? Today we've got massive news ahead of UFC 320 this weekend. Alex Pereira breaks down why Cyril Gane might frustrate Tom Aspinall. Both Pereira and Ankalaev talk about moving to heavyweight. Islam Makhachev's brutal submission footage surfaces, and Merab shares a crazy story about blowing through $60,000 in 6 months. Plus, expert predictions for this weekend's stacked card. Let's dive in. Let's start with some breaking news about the future of both Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev. Speaking to media ahead of their rematch this weekend at UFC 320, both fighters address the possibility of moving up to the heavyweight division, and their answers reveal a lot about their long-term plans. Alex Pereira was asked about potentially moving up to heavyweight, and his response was measured but revealing. He said, "I really don't know. We'll have to see. Obviously, my body gets heavier. I don't know how long I can cut to 205. We're just going to have to see and take it fight by fight." This is significant because Pereira has already conquered 2 divisions, middleweight and light heavyweight. The weight cut to 205 is clearly becoming more difficult as he gets older and his body naturally gets bigger. A move to heavyweight would mean facing guys like Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gane, and potentially even John Jones. Ankalaev, on the other hand, was much more definitive about his heavyweight plans. He stated, "Yes, heavyweight is definitely in my future plans. The weight is going up easy. I get to 110 kilograms or 242 pounds quick. Maybe a couple more fights. After that, I'll definitely move up." Think about what this means. Ankalaev walks around at 242 pounds. That's heavyweight territory already. He's essentially killing himself to make 205, and he knows it's not sustainable long-term. He's giving himself maybe 2 more fights at light heavyweight before making the jump. This adds another layer to their rematch this weekend. We could be watching 2 future heavyweight contenders battling for the light heavyweight title, knowing that both might be competing at heavyweight within the next year or 2. The winner of this fight could potentially become a 3-division champion if they play their cards right. Alex Pereira also gave his thoughts on Tom Aspinall defending the interim heavyweight title against Cyril Gane at UFC 321. And his analysis is fascinating from a striker's perspective. Pereira said, "It's a tough fight. You know, Tom is a complete fighter, but I do feel like he's fought a lot of aggressive guys, and I think Gane is a guy who is going to do a lot of movement. He's going to be a little more cautious and moving around a lot. It might frustrate Tom." He continued with a specific tactical prediction. "First, second, third round. Maybe Tom can't find Cyril, so I think it's going to be a different fight." This is really insightful analysis from Pereira. Tom Aspinall has built his reputation on destroying aggressive fighters who come forward. He knocked out Sergey Pavlovich in the first round, finished Marcin Tybura, and dominated Curtis Blades. But all those guys came to fight and engage with him. Cyril Gane is completely different. He's arguably the most technical striker in the heavyweight division, with incredible footwork and distance management. He's not going to stand in the pocket and trade with Aspinall. He's going to use his movement, his jab, his kicks, and make Aspinall chase him. Pereira knows what he's talking about here because he's faced similar stylistic challenges. Fighters who move and don't engage can be incredibly frustrating for power punchers. If Gane can avoid Aspinall's power for the first few rounds and make him work, the fight could get very interesting in the championship rounds. Former middleweight champion Sean Strickland weighed in on the Merab Dvalishvili versus Corey Sandhagen fight, and his prediction comes with some really interesting technical analysis. Strickland said, "God, I've been going back and forth on this fight. I'm leaning more towards Merab. I hate counting Corey out because I know how skilled he is, and how confident he is, and how serious he's taken this fight and his preparation. He lives like a true martial artist." But then Strickland explained why he's ultimately picking Merab. "I feel like he's so confident right now. He's so strong. He finds a way to win, and so I'm leaning towards Merab on that. I think it's going to be an interesting fight, dude. I do think Corey's going to present some problems." Here's where Strickland's analysis gets really technical. "It's like you got to be able to do that for 5 rounds. Corey, he does have really good footwork, And I'd like to think of myself, I had pretty good footwork. He found a way to get a hold of me multiple times, and I know I'm tricky to take down, but he found ways to get in. This is crucial insight from someone who's actually fought Merab. Strickland is essentially saying that even with good footwork and takedown defense, Merab finds a way. He's relentless, he's strong, and he never stops coming forward. But Strickland also warned about Corey's weapons. But those knees, Corey's knees, you can't make a mistake. You can't eat one of those knees. So I am very excited for that. Corey Sandhagen has some of the most devastating knees in MMA. We've seen him hurt multiple opponents with them. If Merab shoots carelessly or ducks his head at the wrong time, Corey could end the fight instantly. It's the classic wrestler versus striker matchup with championship implications. Now, this is a fascinating story that shows the modern reality of being an MMA fighter. Renato Moicano revealed why he didn't accept the short-notice fight with Charles Oliveira at UFC Rio, and part of the reason will surprise you. He's too busy making content for his YouTube channel. Moicano explained, "Let me be honest. The problem is when a fight like that show up, you want to go. Of course, I want to go. Imagine if I beat Charles in Brazil. You're a superstar. I'm a superstar. Exactly. So why not take the risk?" But here's why he couldn't take it. Because I don't want to be giving excuses, but I have an injury. I'm not going to say, so I'm not training that much. And I got a little bit sick too, especially 5 rounds. And especially because my last fight I got tired, and I didn't have the time to fix because I have been producing. Then comes the shocking revelation. If you follow me on my Brazilian channel, you're going to see I'm posting every day. I'm doing like 6-hour live streams, and at this point, I have to focus on fighting or making content. That's the truth. When asked about the money, Moicano said, "I have been making good money, and you know why. If I stop to make content, you know how it works. The algorithm just goes down. So you have to keep going. But once I have a fight, I will stop and I will focus 100% on the fight." This is the modern fighter's dilemma. Moicano is literally choosing between taking a massive fight opportunity against Charles Oliveira in Brazil, which could make him a superstar, or maintaining his YouTube channel's algorithm and consistent income. He's doing 6-hour live streams. That's a full-time job on top of being a professional fighter. The fact that he's making good enough money from content creation to turn down a UFC fight in Brazil against a former champion shows how the landscape has changed. Fighters aren't just fighters anymore. They're content creators, influencers, and entrepreneurs. Khalil Roundtree and Daniel Cormier recently revisited Roundtree's title fight against Alex Pereira, which ended in a 4th-round TKO loss, and Roundtree's admission about what went wrong is incredibly revealing. During their conversation, Cormier asked about Roundtree's mindset during the fight. Roundtree's response was remarkable. "Every single round of that fight, I was thinking, how amazing is this? Every time I got punched, every exchange I was in my mind thinking how amazing is this? I'm the main event right now in Salt Lake City against Alex Pereira, like I said I was going to be, like I asked for, and it's happening now." Even going into the 4th round, after taking damage in the 3rd, Roundtree was still in awe of the moment. He revealed, "Half of the 3rd round was pretty bad. That's when he really started to sting me. You know what I mean? I really started to get dizzy and fatigue. Not cardio fatigue, but when you start taking damage, your body just says, dude, preserve yourself." Here's where Roundtree made his critical mistake. "I was thinking 10 minutes left. I was like, I can do anything for 10 minutes. And so essentially the story that I like to tell is that I treated the 4th round like the 5th, and I just let it all out in the 4th. And that's not what I should have done." Roundtree then explained what he should have done. "What I should have done, knowing that I'm up 2, possibly 3 rounds, cool off in the 4th, and then take it to him in the 5th. But I hadn't had that experience yet. I was so pumped up. I was all heart that fight. You know what I mean? It was all heart that fight." This is such valuable insight into the mental game of fighting. Roundtree was winning the fight. He was up on the scorecards going into the 4th round. But instead of fighting smart and preserving energy for a 5th round push, he emptied the tank in the 4th round because he was caught up in the moment. He fought with his heart instead of his head, and against someone as dangerous as Pereira, that's a fatal mistake. Pereira capitalized on Roundtree's exhaustion and finished him. It's a lesson every fighter needs to learn. Sometimes you need to fight smart, not hard. Merab Dvalishvili shared an incredible story on Demetrius Johnson's YouTube channel about the year he forgot to pay his taxes, and it's both hilarious and cautionary for young fighters. Merab explained what happened after his second UFC fight. Second fight, I got bonus and I did crazy what I did. Let me tell you, okay, I got $50,000 bonus and then $10,000 from the fight, right? I was supposed to, my contract was $10,000 to fight, 10 for win, but I lost. But I got $10,000 for fight and then $50,000 for bonus. Oh, I'm so rich. I have $60,000 now. He continued, before I never see this much money. I stop work, of course. I never go construction. And I start working, and of course, like I give my coaches bonuses. My manager charged me 10%. I have 2 brothers. I send them big piece of this, and I buy fancy car. Here's where it gets bad. It's 6 months, no work. My money is, of course, there's no more money left, and I don't even know that I have to pay taxes on it. Bro, like you know, and then now I was using credit cards. In my life, I never owe money. When I was working, I always have money, but now I left the job, and then I spent my money, I'm broke. The story gets even crazier. When I was thinking I'm rich, you know, and then next fight I win, I got $20,000 back. But with this $20,000 now, I have to pay taxes for that, and I go back to work, you know, construction. Demetrius Johnson was shocked. So after you won the $60,000, you went broke in 6 months? Merab confirmed, yeah, I spent, I borrow, and then I go back to work. This is such an important story for young fighters. Merab went from thinking he was rich with $60,000 to being broke, in debt, owing taxes, and having to go back to construction work. He didn't understand taxes, he didn't budget, he stopped working immediately, and he gave away huge chunks to family and coaches. It's a reminder that financial literacy is crucial for fighters. That $60,000 bonus wasn't really $60,000 after taxes, manager fees, and coach bonuses. Merab learned this lesson the hard way, having to go back to construction work while training for UFC fights. The good news is Merab learned from this experience. He's now the bantamweight champion, financially secure, and shares this story to help younger fighters avoid the same mistakes. But it shows the harsh reality. Even UFC fighters with bonuses can end up broke if they don't manage their money properly. With UFC 320 just days away, let's talk about what's really at stake in the Pereira versus Ankalaev rematch. This isn't just about the light heavyweight title, it's about legacy, future heavyweight moves, and the entire direction of the division. If Ankalaev wins, he proves the first victory wasn't a fluke. He'll have beaten one of the most dangerous strikers twice, cementing his dominance. With his plans to move to heavyweight in a couple fights, he could become a 2-division champion within the next year. If Pereira wins, we get an instant trilogy fight that would be massive. Pereira keeps his star power, remains one of UFC's biggest draws, and could potentially move to heavyweight himself for super fights. Remember, he's already talking about the weight cut to 205 becoming difficult. The co-main event between Yuri Prochazka and Khalil Roundtree is equally important. The winner likely gets the next title shot, and both have history with these champions. Khalil already fought Pereira and learned valuable lessons about pacing and fight IQ. Yuri has that knockout loss to Pereira he wants to avenge. Merab versus Sandhagen determines the next bantamweight title challenger. Sean Strickland thinks Merab's confidence in wrestling will be too much, but Corey's knees are a constant threat. One mistake from Merab and it's over. The betting lines have shifted dramatically. Ankalaev opened as the favorite, but money has poured in on Pereira, making it essentially even. The prop bets suggest a finish. Most money is on under 3.5 rounds. What makes this card special is that every fight has massive implications. We're potentially watching future heavyweight contenders, determining #1 contenders, and seeing if Pereira can reclaim his throne, or if Ankalaev establishes a new era at light heavyweight. All right, fight fans, that's everything you need to know heading into UFC 320. We've got Pereira and Ankalaev both eyeing heavyweight moves. Pereira predicting Cyril Gane will frustrate Tom Aspinall with movement, and Khalil Roundtree learning from his mistakes against Pereira. This weekend's card is absolutely stacked. Every fight matters. Every outcome changes the landscape. Will Ankalaev prove he's the unquestioned champion? Can Pereira get his revenge? Will Merab continue his unstoppable run? The beauty of MMA is that anything can happen. Styles make fights, but adjustments win rematches. Both Pereira and Ankalaev have had months to study, prepare, and evolve. We're going to see the best versions of both fighters. What are your predictions? Drop them in the comments below. Who wins, Pereira or Ankalaev? Can Corey stop Merab's wrestling? Will Khalil get his redemption against